Something about silence that makes people uncomfortable. When I first imagined a car that made no sound, people laughed. They said, "It'll never work. Cars are supposed to roar." But I didn't want to hear the noise of the past. I wanted to hear the hum of the future. People think Tesla was born from success. It wasn't. It was born from fear. Fear that the planet was dying. Fear that no one would care until it was too late. I didn't build Tesla to make money. I built it to prove that humanity could still evolve. This is the story of how I risked everything: my reputation, my fortune, and my sanity to create Tesla, a company that everyone said would fail until it didn't. When you look at the world today, it's easy to assume that progress is guaranteed. But in the early 2000s, that wasn't true. Oil ruled the planet. Every engine burned something. Every future ran on fumes. But I saw it differently. I saw a future where machines didn't poison the air, where technology and nature worked together. I wasn't thinking about money, I was thinking about survival. After selling PayPal, I had enough wealth to retire forever. But comfort is a slow death. I wanted impact, something that mattered beyond my lifetime. That's when I stumbled upon a group of engineers in Silicon Valley. They were building an electric car that could actually compete with gasoline cars. That spark became Tesla. I wasn't the founder of Tesla, but I became its biggest believer. In 2004, I invested heavily, not because it was smart business, but because it was right. The odds were terrible. Every major automaker laughed. The oil industry dismissed us. Investors called me insane. Electric cars? They'll never scale. Batteries? They're too expensive. But I've learned, if you want to change the world, start with something everyone thinks is stupid. Tesla's early days were chaos. We had no proper factory, no real supply chain, no guarantee of success. We were just dreamers, armed with stubborn faith. But that faith was enough to light the first spark. The Roadster was our first car. It wasn't built for the masses, it was built for believers. We took a Lotus Elise and turned it into something completely new. The goal wasn't just to make it move, it was to make it matter. When people first drove it, they couldn't believe it. Instant torque, smooth acceleration, no noise, just raw, silent power. 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. And not a drop of fuel burned. But behind that success was chaos. Each car cost more to make than we sold it for. Production delays nearly bankrupted us. Still, that car gave Tesla its soul. If you want to know what rock bottom feels like, start 3 companies at once. In 2008, the global economy collapsed. SpaceX had just failed 3 launches in a row, and Tesla was bleeding money. I had to make a choice: which dream survives? I poured every last dollar I had into Tesla. I borrowed money for rent. I had nothing left but belief. And belief can't be spent. I told myself something that still guides me today. If something's important enough, even if the odds are against you, you still do it. That sentence kept me going when everything else said stop. When the Roadster proved what was possible, we knew what came next. A car that could change the world. The Model S wasn't just another vehicle. It was a statement. Elegant, fast, 100% electric. It changed the conversation from "can electric cars work?" to "why aren't all cars electric?" But it wasn't easy. We redesigned parts hundreds of times. We worked nights. We failed. We rebuilt. Every door handle, every bolt, perfection was non-negotiable. When it finally launched, it didn't just win awards, it shattered doubt. Consumer Reports rated it 99 out of 100. For a moment, the world stopped laughing. But success is fragile. Even after Model S, Tesla was far from safe. The production lines broke down. Investors wanted quick profits. Critics returned louder, harsher. The truth? I was exhausted. I'd sleep in the factory. I'd walk through the assembly line, asking engineers how to make things better. People said I was a control freak. Maybe I was. But when you're fighting for survival, obsession isn't madness, it's fuel. We launched Model X, the most complex car ever made. And despite the chaos, it worked. But I knew we hadn't reached our mission yet. The dream wasn't luxury, it was accessibility. That's when we began working on Model 3. Model 3 was the car that almost killed Tesla and saved it. We promised affordable electric cars for everyone. But building at scale was a nightmare. Robots broke down. Production lines froze. At one point, we were days from bankruptcy. But giving up wasn't an option. I slept in the factory again, literally. Not in an office, not at home. On the floor, next to the machines. Why? Because if my people were sacrificing everything, I couldn't do less. Eventually, it worked. We scaled production, hit record sales, and Tesla became profitable. But more importantly, it became real. Millions of people started believing that electric cars weren't a dream, they were the future. Tesla was never just about cars. It was about a vision of a world free from fossil fuels. We built gigafactories. We launched solar roofs. We created Powerwall to make homes self-sufficient. Every brick, every panel, every battery a step toward a world that could survive. This wasn't just a company. It was a movement. A statement that humanity doesn't need to destroy itself to progress. People ask me, Elon, what's your secret? There is no secret. It's pain, persistence, purpose. You'll fail. You'll lose everything. You'll be called crazy. But if you hold on long enough, your dream becomes inevitable. Pressure is what makes diamonds. And belief is what builds revolutions. So if this story moved, you don't just watch. Act, build, dream. Share this message and remind someone today. You don't need permission to change the world. You just need the courage to begin. After the Tesla truck car innovation, then I come to think of. When people talk about power, they think of money or control. But the real power, the kind that changes lives, comes from something much simpler. It comes from light. I used to look up at the sun as a kid and wonder how much energy is that. Enough to power entire nations. Enough to give everyone light, warmth, life. Yet, we burn the earth for power instead. I wanted to change that. Not because it was profitable, but because I believed if the sun gives us energy freely, humanity has no excuse to stay in the dark. This is the story of SolarCity. Not just a company, but a mission to turn light into freedom. And a reminder that sometimes the brightest ideas are born from the darkest concerns. It began with a question. Why, in a world overflowing with sunlight, are people still living in darkness? In 2006, I sat with my cousins, Lyndon and Peter Rive. They were brilliant engineers, passionate, hungry, curious. We talked for hours about the world's growing energy crisis. I told them, if we could capture even a tiny fraction of the sun's power, we could electrify the entire planet. That day, SolarCity was born not as a business, but as a rebellion against energy dependence. Most people saw solar power as a niche idea, but I saw it as the foundation of a sustainable civilization. Every great innovation starts with frustration, and I was tired of seeing humanity depend on destruction to survive. We didn't start with billions. We started with belief. No major company wanted to fund us. Banks laughed. Utility companies ignored us. But that's the thing, you don't need everyone to believe in your dream. You just need enough courage to start. Our mission was simple but ambitious. Make solar energy affordable for everyone. That meant fighting the old system, the monopolies that controlled electricity, and the mindset that said renewable equals expensive. We went door to door. We explained, we educated, we inspired. And people began to see the truth. Solar wasn't just a technology. It was freedom. There were nights when it felt impossible. Solar panels were costly, and governments weren't exactly supportive. But I've always believed the best way to predict the future is to build it yourself. So we built. We streamlined installation. We innovated financing models. We told homeowners, you don't have to buy the panels, just pay for the power. That single idea, the solar lease, changed everything. Suddenly, people who couldn't afford solar could now join the revolution. And SolarCity grew faster than anyone imagined. From one neighborhood to an entire nation. From skepticism to belief. We were proving that sunlight could become a business model for hope. As SolarCity grew, I realized something. Electric cars and solar energy weren't separate missions, they were one. If Tesla built the cars, SolarCity could power them. The future wasn't just about transportation. It was about energy independence. So we started developing battery systems to store solar energy, giving families light even when the sun went down. People laughed again. Batteries are too expensive, they said. But I've heard that before. The truth is, progress always sounds impossible until it's already happening. We needed scale. To change the world, we couldn't just make solar panels, we had to reimagine manufacturing itself. So we planned the Gigafactory not just to build batteries, but to build the future. Every wall, every machine, every panel was designed with one purpose. Make clean energy cheaper than dirty energy. We weren't just building a factory, we were building a movement. And when Tesla and SolarCity finally merged, that dream became complete. The world finally saw what we'd been fighting for. a unified, sustainable energy ecosystem. But every light casts a shadow. The media called the merger reckless. Critics said it was a bailout. Investors panicked. They didn't understand SolarCity wasn't dying. It was transforming. Change always looks like chaos before it becomes clarity. I faced some of the hardest moments of my career during that time. Court cases, debt, doubt. But pressure reveals truth. And I learned something that changed me forever. When your purpose is clear, criticism becomes fuel. From those struggles, we built something extraordinary, the Tesla solar roof. Instead of mounting panels, we turned rooftops themselves into power generators. It wasn't just innovation, it was integration. Beautiful, seamless, powerful. When I saw the first prototype, I didn't see a product, I saw the future of cities. Imagine every home on Earth generating its own power. Imagine never needing a grid again. That's the world we're building, one roof at a time. Looking back, SolarCity wasn't just about technology. It was about mindset. We learned that the biggest obstacle isn't cost, it's belief. People don't fear failure, they fear change. But the sun rises every day. It never asks permission. It never gives up. And that's what I've tried to teach. To shine, even when the world doubts your light. So here's my message to you. If you've ever been told your idea is unrealistic, remember this. Everything we have today, cars, electricity, flight, was once impossible. Don't chase money. Chase meaning. Don't follow trends. Follow truth. If you believe in something powerful enough to wake you up at 3 a.m., protect that fire. Feed it. Build it. Because one day, that crazy idea might light up the entire world. I Elon reminds you that even the smallest ray of light can spark a revolution. Stay inspired. Stay motivated. And remember, your light can power more than just your life. It can power the world. Subscribe to Balos Mindshift Motivations, where we don't just dream the future, we build it.